Hello, everybody.
You guys will recognize Kerry. She supported me already for the Overkill and My Dying Bride album rankings, and in fact, she's the first guest here to appear for the third time.
What is your plan for today?
I'm going to talk about Virgin Steele, a band which regrettably fell into obscurity in recent years. The new releases were ignored or at best met with lukewarm responses. Therefore, we need to dive deeper into Virgin Steele history today.
Did it take long to prepare?
Well, about 2 months actually. Virgin Steele albums tend to be very long. For example, the Black Light Bacchanalia runs over 6 sides of vinyl. And it's not an easy album. You need to listen several times to appreciate it. But it was worth the time.
I'm going to have a special outfit.
Yeah, since a lot of Virgin Steele albums deal with subjects from the Greek mythology, I thought it makes sense to let Kerry make the album cover presentation dressed like a Greek goddess. Hope you like it.
Yes, I like it also.
The 2018 studio album Ghost Harvest is currently only available as a download version. If you see it sold separately on a disc, it's a bootleg.
On CD, Ghost Harvest was released officially only as part of the box set Seven Devils Moonshine so far. If you think you know what a best-of compilation is, think again. This box didn't only hold the best of selection, hymns to victory, and re-recordings of old songs, The Book of Burning, which were available separately before, but also so much new material that they weren't just bonus tracks, but enough for 3 new albums, Ghost Harvest, Volume 1 and 2, plus Gothic Voodoo Anthems.
If I wanted to review that in detail, this would get an hour long, so let's just simply say Ghost Harvest and Gothic Voodoo Anthems show a bluesier side of the band and include a bunch of cover songs from ZZ Top's Jesus Just Left Chicago to Bad Company's Rocksteady. This box is difficult to place in a ranking due to its nature as a compilation. If I decided for this low rank in total, it's because from so many new songs only few convince, especially when played next to the much better tunes from Hymns to Victory and The Book of Burning. Some sound like homemade demos with a drum computer. Less material, more carefully selected, would have been better. David's vocal performance is eccentric, to put it mildly. Check out the beginning of Green Dusk Blues, for example, where he screams and growls around just to pass the time until the first verse begins. And there are moments which truly make me shake my head in despair. For example, when I listen to that horrible re-recording of the band classic The Evil in Her Eyes on Ghost Harvest Volume 2. That song should have been left untouched. Narrow-minded fan thought, perhaps, but it seems like a sacrilege. In case you were wondering about the cover presentation, like many Virgin Steele albums, the debut LP was released with different covers, either in different countries or for later reissues. This LP was not a spectacular beginning, instead a typical hard rock album of the early 80s when the style of the band had not fully formed yet. Quickly recorded and mixed in 1 week, it's okay to complete your collection, but I wouldn't recommend to start with this one. This album is darker than others, with numbers like Queen of the Dead or Black Sun, Black Mass. We get some interesting material here like Persephone, which deals with the classical pagan story about the struggle between Hades and Demeter for Persephone. Must she go to the underworld or not? Now, David is a very capable singer who can do anything from low threatening whisper to high-pitched maniacal screaming. Problem is, on some recent albums like Ghost Harvest and also this one, he tried and demonstrated that range in each and every song, unnecessarily. I would find some of Virgin Steele's material more enjoyable if he'd sing more with his normal voice and pushes to extremes only to highlight certain points, for a better overall flow. Nocturnus of Hellfire and Damnation is an album that shows an artist without constraint, which frankly makes it a bit annoying to listen sometimes. need a lot of coffee for that today. Visions of Eden. I happened to play this album after listening to Invictus, and in direct comparison, Visions of Eden seems too tame. More keyboards, too little guitar. Some songs, for example The Hidden God, display a slice of heavy metal energy, but altogether the album is too quiet for my taste. 6 years after the previous studio album, David must have had a lot of time to think where he wants to take Virgin Steele in the new millennium, and the conclusion was unfortunately to move away from power metal. As the cover suggests, the band had become a solo project at this stage, with little input by others. The weak production for Visions of Eden was criticized so often that eventually in 2017 a complete remix of the album was put out. The latest studio album is a bit more interesting for the power metal fans again, with heavy guitar playing in I Will Fear No Man or the fast and mean Spiritual Warfare. I'd call it a step in the right direction. It still doesn't sound like the old band, but it makes more of an effort to be digestible than Nocturnus and Ghost Harvest. David describes the lyrical concept as an epic struggle between the forces of control, restraint, and freedom, release. This is something everybody can relate to without studying mythology. The second album, Guardians of the Flame, was a big step forward from the debut in production quality and songwriting. With Don't Say Goodbye Tonight and Burn the Sun, Virgin Steele had their first hits. After this album, however, the band split in a not-so-amiable way from their founder member Jack Starr, who recorded his first solo album, Out of the Darkness, with Riot singer Red Forrester, and would continue with his project, now called Burning Star, after losing the band name Virgin Steele at court. However, with new guitarist Ed Persino joining Virgin Steele, they would soon be ready for their first masterpiece, namely the third album, Noble Savage. Volume 1 managed to keep my level of interest high. On Volume 2, I'm getting a little bit lost, honestly, trying to track a central theme. My favorite songs are The Wine of Violence, The Greatly Built Up, A Token of My Hatred, and When the Legends Die, Magic Moment. Referring to other bands, I said oftentimes in the past that a perfect heavy metal album should consist of 10 songs, 40 minutes, simply to avoid fillers. Virgin Steele blew up the whole Atreus project to round about 50 songs on 4 discs, including the Magic Fire music EP. This whole enterprise went definitely a bit over the top. That doesn't mean there are many fillers. The pieces all have their purpose in the narration. It's just so complex that it's really not for everyone. Modesty is not a thing in the Virgin Steele universe, so this album appeared as a massive 3 LP box set. With the opening track, By the Hammer of Zeus, you worry if David is pushing it too much again, but there are some more controlled, appealing numbers like In a Dream of Fire, which make the album more listenable. To crown them with Halos or the slow Tortures of the Damned evolve a strange, mystical atmosphere. Generally, Blacklight Bacchanalia appears to be more planned, carefully recorded, less spontaneous. Best album of the new millennium to me. Listening to all the albums of a band for a ranking sometimes makes me rediscover an album I probably haven't played for a couple of years, and Invictus was such a case. Invictus appeared in 1998 between the big double albums Marriage of Heaven and Hell and The House of Atreus, which were more ambitious and more promoted. At first glance, Invictus may seem insignificant next to them, but it's a pleasure to play. There are several great heavy tracks like Dust from the Burning and A Whisper of Death. In Vow of Honor, I think David hits the highest notes he ever sang. Veni Vidi Vici is a great finale with a positive spirit. With the Marriage albums, Virgin Steele reached the peak of their skills and abilities, and Invictus was a good continuation from there. Live Among the Ruins is an interesting example how the perception of an album may change with time. I didn't like the album very much when it was released in 1993 because it was a time when I was listening to more death metal and heavier stuff, while Live Among the Ruins appeared to be the most commercial album of Virgin Steele so far, rather tame compared to their 80s outputs, with the ballad Never Believed in Goodbye becoming the video single. Today my impression is a lot better. There are some songs with real hit potential like I Dress in Black, Love is Pain and Crown of Thorns. Definitely leaning to the catchy hairspray rock style, for example with Too Hot to Handle, but really good fun. In 2025, Live Among the Ruins gets my seal of approval. Especially in the 90s, Virgin Steele were on tour in Europe a lot. I saw them live at headline shows in Germany and France, as well as their appearance at an early Wacken festival. There's a video from that on my channel. I also did 2 interviews with David back then. He's a charming personality and a pleasure to talk to. One of them occurred on the promotion tour for this album. Getting into details about the ideas behind the album was a fascinating journey. One of my questions to him was why the different characters in the story didn't tempt him to invite guest singers to make it more operatic. He answered that he wanted to prove Virgin Steele solely as a band could pull it off on their own, although it's such an ambitious project, not hiding behind anyone. I dare say they succeeded with that. My favorite songs here are Flames of the Black Star, The Fire God and Child of Desolation. The classical piano pieces are the best they'd done until this point, from Song of Prophecy to Day of Wrath. After the success of Noble Savage and European tours with Manowar and Black Sabbath, Virgin Steele recorded their 4th album, Age of Consent, feeling that now they could conquer the world with it. But they didn't. The band was in trouble with a change of management, business things, so the LP sales disappointed, and it would take them over 4 years to continue with the next album. Although they missed their breakthrough at the end of the 80s, this is musically one of their finest albums, with hits like The Burning of Rome and On the Wings of the Night. My choice of favorite songs would be the opener Symphony of Steel, Devil Angel, and the touching epic Amaleth. Altogether you find more slow parts in the second volume of Marriage than in the first. This gives you time to contemplate, reflect on what you heard so far, which works really well in the context of the double album. Noble Savage was the album which made me a fan many years ago. The anthem I'm a Savage, I'm a King became an immortal classic of heavy metal. The same goes for We Rule the Night, The Evil in Her Eyes, and many more. The album is more straightforward, not as thoughtful or multi-layered like later records, but pure bliss to play again and again. Many 80s metal bands struggled to survive in the 90s. After Age of Consent, Virgin Steele too had a couple of rather quiet years. Live Among the Ruins showed a softer side of the band not all fans appreciated so much. The following tour in Europe with Sahara was disastrous. They played some shows in front of 50 people. The Marriage of Heaven and Hell Part 1 in 1994 was the comeback album, which really restarted Virgin Steele for the 90s. A powerful statement that they would have a lot more to say. My favorite songs are I Will Come For You, I Wake Up Screaming and Weeping of the Spirits. The almost doomy Last Supper impressed me a lot on the re-listening run. Classical piano pieces like Warrior's Lament are a perfect addition without losing any energy. I haven't mentioned Blood of the Saints and Blood and Gasoline yet. So many great songs. A terrific album to listen to still today. Good night.